Hi, everybody. It's Tom and Susan. Here we are. Almost 1 year of doing Culture Mavens together, and we welcome you this morning, for another episode. So I've been telling Tom that I watched Oslo on HBO Max, which is based on a play, and it's the backstory between the Oslo Accord that was signed between Yitzhak Rabin and Yasser Arafat. And actually, it's the story of this Danish couple who had this theory that the only way that peace could be made is if people spoke face to face, and they arranged for low-level Israelis, low-level meaning important but not at the top, and Palestinians to start meeting and having dinner together and getting to know each other. And it's the relationship between these people and the facilitation of this couple. So it was really well done, riveting, and I highly recommend it. It's on HBO Max, and especially now with everything going on with Israel.
I was going to say, unfortunately, Oslo created a whole group of people, Israelis and Palestinians, and international people working on issues of water rights, economic rights. I mean, there was a whole infrastructure built up that has been, unfortunately, discredited, dismissed, and sidelined.
And it was heartbreaking that it didn't happen. And that, for example, Rabin sends this high-level lawyer at some point, and he says, I have 200 questions about this. And the first one is, will you pick up Israeli garbage in your area? And the guy says, what are you talking about? He said, if you're a state, you're responsible for the picking up of the garbage. So they were down to that level. It's just wonderful.
Yeah. I've taped it, and I've been waiting for the right night to watch it. So I'm going to watch it now. You're going to
really. So, and another thing, speaking of Israel, that I wanted to mention is a brand new thriller series called Black Space. And it's a domestic crime in Israel. I don't want to give it away, but it's gotten really good reviews. I think it's about the same writers as Fauda. And it's just brand new, got great reviews. I don't want to tell the plot, but it starts with a school shooting and then who did it and all kinds of implications with a really cool hero, detective, a rogue detective, which we love. So it's called Black Space. And also, just for people who love England like I do in the English, the complete seasons of Downton Abbey is now available on Netflix. So if you'd ever watched it or you only watched a few and you want to see the whole thing, it's now all on Netflix. You don't have to wait like we all did every week on PBS for another episode. So those are the things I have watched recently that I recommend. And now you know what you've been watching.
Well, I've discovered a new series that I'm very much enjoying on Acorn, which I watched through Amazon. It's called Candice Renoir, and it's a cop show set in a town in the south of France. And it's the setup is that there's this woman who was a top detective in Paris. And she suddenly comes in to run this department in the south of France. And the people in the department are younger than her. And they think they should have been promoted rather than bringing in someone from the outside. So they're really not that into her. But it turns out that she took off 10 years to raise her kids.
Oh.
And in the 10 years that she's not been a detective, of course, there have been many innovations in technology, and she doesn't know any of them. At the same time, what's really charming about the show is that she manages to solve each crime by some knowledge that she's acquired from raising children and being at home.
Oh, I love this. This is so my type. I'm going to be watching it. Is her name Candice Renoir? That's her name?
Yes, that's her name.
Okay.
And it's really good. It's really good in that way. So that I enjoyed. There is a movie that I watched that I want to recommend. It's called The Personal History of David Copperfield. It's an adaptation of David Copperfield by Armando Iannucci, who's the guy who created Veep. And he does a really...
HBO Max, right?
Right, HBO Max. He does a really fresh sort of retelling of David Copperfield with a completely colorblind casting like Bridgerton. And it's filled with terrific actors. Tilda Swinton, Hugh Laurie. It's really so enjoyable, and it really made me want to go back and read more Dickens.
Oh.
Now, the Kominsky Method. Alan Arkin is not in this season, which is all I'll say, but Michael Douglas is, and he's so good. And Paul Reiser is good, and there's some plot twist. I don't know. I'm enjoying it. How about you, Susan?
So I don't know if you remember that Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner made that really fun movie, Romancing the Stone.
Correct.
Years ago when they were both young and beautiful. Really. And so it must be fun for them to be together again. Though, everybody's aged. The only person who's really aged well is Michael Douglas. I mean, Paul Reiser.
Well, and Michael Douglas, compared to his father, who lived to 103, is still a young guy.
Yeah, he is a young guy. It's still witty. It's still funny. I don't think it's as good as the first two seasons with Alan Arkin. I really miss Alan Arkin a lot.
And Nancy Travis, who I think is terrific.
And who aged beautifully. She looks fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's still witty and hits all the right notes. And of course, I watched the whole thing in one day because I had to. I watch the Kominsky Method as soon as it comes out for the whole season. So I liked it. I could see they have nowhere to go really now with it. It's over. It was a really refreshing and nice to have older actors and dealing with aging and dealing with children and dealing with Hollywood in a really funny way. And so it's wonderful. So I really enjoyed it.
Agreed.
And then on a whole other note, first of all, I want to let everyone know that I've been in contact with the Consul General of Israel to come and speak to us and give us a briefing about what's going on. But at the same time, I wanted to let people know that at our old friends, the Streicker Center, they're doing a 3-part series called Israel Therapy for the Conflicted. And it's about American feelings about Israel and, where we agree and disagree in our connection to Israel. So it's called Israel Therapy for the Conflicted.
Sounds very Jewish.
Very Jewish to be conflicted. Of course, we are conflicted. Well, I'm not. We'll see what happens with the new government. I'm waiting to see if I can be less conflicted. I want to get people used to the name of the Braid Theater, which is the old Jewish women's theater, but it's not just for women anymore. It's called the Braid. And they're doing a show online called Persian Sunrise, American Sunset, which is a show about second-generation Persian, so Iranian Jewish millennials, and their feelings about, having one foot in the old country and living here in America now, and what the conflicts. It's sort of like our parents when they came from Europe, but this is this generation. And it's they're having 4 shows. The first is June 19th. It's very reasonable. It's like $20 for a ticket, and they need to be supported. And also, they will be in person in residence at Wilshire Boulevard Temple this coming season. And I just want to remind people that Tevye in New York is opening at the Wallace. I have tickets. I'm going next week. And it's a one-man show about what happens to Tevye after he leaves Anatevka and moves to the Lower East Side. It's an imagination story. Sounds wonderful. And Tom, you have a book, I understand.
Yes. So I just read this book called Interior Chinatown by Charles Wu, which won the National Book Award last year. It's a novel. There's been a lot of discussion about discrimination against Asian Americans. And this novel is wild in that it's written as if it's a screenplay, and as if this the Asian people in it can only play the types of Asian roles that they're given in movies. So this particular protagonist is trying to advance to Kung Fu guy, and his father, his mother, his girlfriend are all sort of in this TV show that is both a TV show and real life, but it kind of does an amazing job of sort of waking you up to the reductive discrimination that Asian Americans face every day. And it's brilliant.
It's kind of like, the movie Hollywood Shuffle.
It's a little bit like that, yes.
Where,
Robert Townsend's great movie.
Where he had to be typecast all the time as
exactly
gangster and a black bad guy and all that. I just remembered one more thing I want to mention. So, we have our film series at Wilshire Boulevard Temple. And once it's every Saturday night and one Wednesday a month, we'll be having a discussion with Jim Ruxin, who's a wonderful curator and moderator.
And, as part of our summer is happening, things are reopening, series are coming back in the next few weeks. The second installment of Lupin, which we've talked about and enjoyed so much, is coming back. So we'll have plenty to talk about the next time we get together.
That's right. Shabbat Shalom, and bye, everybody. Have a beautiful
Bye, everybody. Bye.